Okay, what you're saying, people, and welcome back to another weekly Forex analysis. Now, on the screen are the 10 pairs we'll be analyzing today. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you're feeling generous. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on my Telegram channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description. So we post a lot of different trading setups throughout the week, and you don't want to be missing out on that. So make sure you go check it out. And also check out my Instagram page. I'll leave the handle there because I'll be posting trading setups as well, tips and tricks, just to general advice to help you with your trading journey. So make sure you go check all of that out. Links will be in the description. But like I said, it's another weekly Forex analysis. So let me stop talking and let's get into the video. First up, we've got Euro USD. Okay, so like usual, we're going to start with Euro USD on the daily, but as you can see, this is a different trading platform to what I normally use. I normally use MT4, but here I'm just going to use TradingView for my weekly analysis videos, just because the technical tools are slightly better on TradingView, so I'm just going to use them for my weekly analysis, as it will benefit me and probably benefit you guys a lot more. So for Euro USD on the daily chart, you can see we are looking quite bullish down the higher time frames anyway, like the weekly. As well, you can see we broke out of our previous area of resistance in the market here. You can see this is our resistance keeping us under the market, under that level anyway. Then we saw price break above last week and had a strong bullish close there. So potentially it does look like we've had a breakout for Euro USD unless we don't fall back to the downside here on the weekly chart here. So we are looking very bullish from the higher time frame point of view, and even monthly as well. So potentially in the coming weeks and months, potentially could see USD continue on. Obviously, we do expect pullbacks and some counter trend moves, but for a longer view in the market, probably gonna be expecting USD to continue to the upside here. Daily chart, we saw a push to the upside recently, breaking out of this previous area of resistance in the market. Probably gonna be expecting some retrace to happen for Euro USD. As you can see, we found some resistance here in the market. You can see I have multiple wicks above this level here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a clear level here on the daily chart. We're failing to get a close above this area. So potentially you could see the market roll over a little bit, go and test this area down here potentially, and then see the market either continue to the upside to keep on those higher time frame trends to the upside, or maybe see a deeper pullback and more of a counter trend move. But anyway, I'm probably still having a bias to the downside for USD to go and test this area here at least, unless we get a close above this level here in the market around 1.214. So around that level, if we get a close above that level on the daily time frame, could easily see the market break to the upside again, and that upwards momentum just continue for Euro USD to the upside there. So that could easily happen, but bias is probably to the downside, expecting a pullback there in the market. You saw the momentum we had there, so expect the market to relieve itself, retrace, find some more support there, and potentially either continue to the upside or maybe see a deeper pullback. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY on the daily chart, not too much has happened recently with this pair, kind of just moving sideways a little bit. As you can see, USD and JPY kind of move similar, so not too much movement going on for this pair. We do still have this downwards trend line here, keeping us in that bearish trend, well, weak bearish trend anyway. Seeing this year test there, second there, third, and then we had our fourth test recently. We saw a move to the downside, and from then we've just been moving sideways. So clearly on USD JPY on the daily time frame, you can see we've got clearly a level of resistance here, keeping us from creating those higher highs in the market. So again, for the price action we're getting here on the daily time frame, a lot of wicks into this area. It looks like we could potentially be seeing another move to the downside for USD JPY. As you can see, a lot of wicks in there. The current price action on the daily time frame, you can see a lot of doji candles, a lot of small body candles to the upside. And we saw Friday's close give us a nice bearish candle, engulfing 4 bullish candles there on the daily chart. So again, the momentum does look like it's building up to the downside for USD JPY, and you could potentially see another move to the downside, breaking through this support area here in the market and going to test the support that we have all the way down here, where we saw the vaccine news come in and we saw this big bullish candle to the upside. So potentially be getting a move to the downside to go and test this level, or maybe break below it, create another lower low, then see the market give us another move to the upside, which is probably the move we're looking to capitalize on for USD JPY, and get a fifth test of this trend line and finally see a break of it, and then potentially see the market start to maybe potential reverse the trend and see a longer move to the upside potentially. But again, we'll make that judgment when we get to the trend line, whether we're going to roll over or break through it. But my bias is probably to the downside for the short term for USD JPY. The price action there is starting to look bearish, moving sideways. Could easily see the market break to the downside, give us a new low, and then potentially see the market come higher again. As you can see in the past, we had a move to the downside, very strong move, back up again, very strong move to the downside, back up again, very strong move to the downside, back up again. So potentially could be seeing the market move sideways, give us another push to the downside, create some lower lows, and then see the market come up again, which we can take advantage of. And next we've got USD CAD. Okay, so now onto USD CAD on the daily time frame. So recently you can see we've had the market roll over to the downside, create some lower lows in the market here. You can see for the long time we've had a really bearish trend to the downside, and it looks like we broke through this support area in the market here, keeping us kind of just moving sideways really, and then we saw the market break through to the downside, and then we just saw a big push without any pullback or any retest of this area. So potentially could be seeing a longer move back to the upside now with the market retrace. As you can see for the USD CAD, once we have those moves to the upside, we do start to see some move to the downside, sorry, we do start to see those counter trend moves, and the market maybe roll back over or see a reversal on our hands here. So again, we've been moving to the downside here, so it could be due another counter trend move back to the upside. Obviously we don't know when that will happen, but we'll use other technical tools like price action levels to see when that could happen. But from a daily point of view, we are looking very bearish here, but we could probably be expecting a longer move potentially back to this area here in the market here. As you can see, previous support will be turned resistance, so we use the CAD, could maybe see the market find some strength, push back up to this area, and then potentially continue to the downside again. Or if you see a break of this level, can potentially see a longer counter trend move, or maybe a reversal. But from the higher time frames, like the weekly, we are looking very bearish. You can see on the weekly we broke through a very key support level on the weekly time frame here. As you can see, support there, support there, support, and we've actually broke through it with a very strong bearish candle for last week, and we closed below. So potentially could even see a breakout on our hands, and the momentum just continue us to the downside. But before that happens, you could see a retest of that level, that key level, and then the market roll over again, which we couldn't to take advantage of on the lower time frames like the daily, the 4 hourly or the hourly even. So again, bias is probably for a move to the upside, but then again, I won't be surprised if we start to roll over again and continue to the downside, because we are looking very bearish for USD CAD as of yet. Up next is Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP on the daily time frame, you can see we had a big push to the upside recently in the past few days, a couple of weeks or so. You can see we finally broke out of this corrective pattern here, and then if we broke out that corrective pattern I said price, so we're going to see a longer move to the upside, potentially go and test this level here at least. As you can see, a really key level there, got moved to the downside, broke above it there, expecting a retest of that area. We did get a retest, but now it looks like the market is trying to go and break through it and possibly go and create some higher highs for Euro GBP. You can see we did pull all the way back down, so we kind of really haven't broken through that level completely. A very long wick to the upside, so potentially could see the market relieve itself a little bit. As you can see, you do have a really nice previous area of resistance here in the market, as you see with all those wicks there. So potentially could see Euro GBP roll over, go and test this area here on the daily time frame. So a move to this area for a pullback, and then potentially see market continue to the upside, because we are looking very bearish on the daily and the weekly time frame, I believe. So again, yeah, you can see very bullish there. It looks like we are coming back to the highs that we previously tested all the way up here. So again, big move to the upside. Looks like that was just a retrace back to the same support level that we had in the market here. Found some support, found momentum, and back to the highs again. So again, probably expecting Euro GBP to continue to the upside, go test the highs up here around 0.9260, so around that level. And if we see a break of that, potentially could see the market continue a little bit higher, then expect another longer move to the downside. Because if you zoom out to the monthly chart, actually you can see where we are in the market. So a very key level here in the market, a very key level of resistance that has held the market for some time now. So you can see since December 2016, so 4 years here, we're kind of been stuck under this barrier. So we're coming back into this area, so potentially when we see price continue a little bit higher, maybe because of the momentum on the daily and the weekly, then maybe see the market roll over again for a longer move back to the downside, just because we have a very strong resistance in the market. So for Euro GBP, going to be expecting some pullbacks to come in the market into this level here, and then possibly the market continue higher back to the highs up here. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD on the daily chart, we are looking very bullish here, even on the higher time frames as well, weekly as well. You can see bullish there, broke out of our recent high in the market, and you can see we've broken to the upside now, looking very bullish. And even from a monthly point of view, we are looking bullish there. And from a monthly point of view, I believe we'll potentially go and test the highs all the way up here, or previous swing highs. As you can see, a swing to the downside, back up again. I believe we're probably going to go and test those highs up there, because we kind of had a little bit of a range really between these two levels on the monthly time frame. So our resistance up there, support there. It looks like we've broken back above the area of support, retested there with those couple of bearish candles on the monthly, had that engulfing candle, and looks like the momentum is taking us back to the upside. So again, potentially that's a very long term target there. So again, we're probably gonna have some bearish months before we get to that level, but I believe we're probably gonna have a longer uptrend to the upside for AUD USD, and then go and test that level or all the way up there. So that's more of a longer term target. But for a more immediate target, for a daily point of view, you can see we were looking very bullish there towards the end of last week. Those two bullish candles just took us to the upside quite nicely. So probably going to see some retrace in the market here. As you can see, we kind of had a really healthy trend to the upside for AUD. The price continues to make those higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and retesting those previous resistance, which returned support. So as you can see here, previous resistance for us here, broke above it. So I'm probably going to be expecting the market to roll over again to the downside for AUD to go and test this area here at least, and either see a longer swing back to the upside, or potentially more of a counter trend move back to the downside. If you see a break of this level, you can see a longer move potentially before seeing the higher time frames take us back to the upside, because from a weekly point of view, it does look like we've got a potential breakout on our hands to the upside. As you can see here, a very key level in the market here, previous resistance took us to the downside. Saw this big bearish candle come on the weekly time frame from that same level. We had a close above it 3 weeks ago now, and now we've been looking bullish since then. So again, very strong bullish candle on the weekly chart. The momentum is to the upside, and there's nothing saying that this trend can't continue much further to the upside here. So again, if you're going to be looking for shorts for AUD for next week, again, just keep in mind this level here, previous resistance, will return support on the daily time frame. So again, you could be expecting to take some advantage of that pullback into this level potentially. But again, probably don't want to be holding in two positions too long, because there's nothing saying that we can't just roll over back again to the upside and continue this uptrend. So for next week for AUD, expecting the market to give us some retrace into this level, and then potentially either continue or see a longer swing back to the downside. Now let's take a look at NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD on the daily chart, you can see we finally had that move to the downside that Okay, so for NZD CAD on the daily chart, you can see we finally had that bearish move to the downside we've been expecting. You see those two big bearish candles took us all the way back to the downside there, to this previous area of resistance in the market. As you can see, if I draw this level across, so again, previous area of resistance, broke above it, didn't see any retrace or any retest really on the daily time frame. So again, expecting a retest of that area, then potentially either see the market continue back to the upside or leak further to the downside. So currently we're back at that same level. You can see we're kind of just moving sideways there on the daily time frame. Not too sure which way we could break to the upside, because it looks like we're kind of stuck in a little bit of a range, maybe on the 4-hour time frame, as you can see a little bit. So again, we've got our resistance up here, and of course we've got our support down there. So it depends which way the market wants to break to. I probably think from a 4-hourly point of view, you probably get another move into this area potentially, then either see a move back up again, or finally get a break to the downside for NZD CAD. But we could see a deeper retrace in the market, because of the weekly time frame, you can see we did see a big move to the upside from this area of support in the market, and we haven't really seen any retrace, really just being consecutive bullish candles to the upside, broken through a couple of really strong levels as well. So we've had our engulfing candle on the weekly chart, so potentially could see the market roll over again for a deeper pullback, maybe into this area of resistance here, and then potentially see the market continue to the upside, because it looks like we could be having a longer uptrend in the market now for NZD CAD. You can see on the monthly being having this bearish trend here, but it definitely looks like we found a bottom to that trend potentially. As you can see, you have this bearish trend here in the monthly chart. We tested it once there, a second time there, third time. So again, a little bit of a double bottom. We broke above our recent high there, retested it with those wicks, and then we have that very strong bullish candle on the monthly to the upside. So it looks like we potentially do have an uptrend on our hands, but going to be expecting some longer pullbacks to happen before we see that that market continue to the upside there. So from a weekly time frame, expecting a longer pullback to the downside, and from a daily time frame, again, probably expecting the market to break to the downside here for NZD CAD out of this range. But again, markets moving sideways can break to any which way here. Breaks to the upside, probably going to be seeing a test back of these highs here. Then you see the market roll over again, or maybe do a false breakout. Then we see a longer move to the downside. But again, quite hard to judge which way we're going to go. If you see a break to the downside, could either see a nice move to go and test this level here in the market, or potentially this level here. So break to the downside, we're going to be looking to see if we can target those levels in the market. Next up, we've got GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD on the daily chart, we saw a big move to the downside with that GBP weakness that we had towards the end of the week. We broke through quite a very strong level previously, about a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago. As you can see here on the daily chart, previous support gave us a move to the upside there. Actually, if I extend this across, you can see support there gave us that move to the upside as well. So again, we broke through that level. It looks like we just retested that level as resistance now. So previous support, term resistance, and from that level we had that big move to the downside for GBP NZD. So we are looking very bearish for this time frame on the daily and on the weekly as well. As you can see there, looking very bearish to the downside. So potentially could see the market continue potentially and go and test the lows that we have all the way down here on the weekly time frame. So you can see previous support there gave us a move to the upside. Support there gave us this whole move to the upside. Started a very bullish trend for quite some time. And it looks like we're coming back to those same lows for GBP NZD to go and test this key level here in the market, so around 1.8400, so around that level potentially from a weekly time frame. Obviously, before we get there, we're probably going to see some pullbacks in the market. You can see a really nice area of support in the market, which was keeping us in a little bit of a range, broke to the downside, so it could easily see the market retrace into that area of support, now term resistance, then probably see the market continue back to the downside. But if you do break back above that level, again, this will probably just be a false breakout, and then we could potentially see a longer counter trend move back to the upside here. As you can see, we do have this trend line here if I connect the recent highs in the market. So again, could be on our way to get a third test of that trend line, then you see the market roll over again, or maybe even a big of a reversal to the upside, and then probably GBP NZD will look very bullish after that. But again, for more of a short-term target, going to be expecting a move back into this area as we retrace this very bearish move that we had recently, then probably see another move back into the lows of that weekly target that we're probably expecting to get a test of. Next, we're going to move on to CAD JPY. Okay, so for CAD JPY on the daily chart, you can see you kind of just have a range in the market here. Recently, we've had more of a uptrend in the 4-hourly chart here, slight uptrend to the upside, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we're right back at those previous area of resistance that we tested back here, and we saw that big move to the downside, as you can see previously. So again, there is a good possibility we could see another swing back to the downside for CAD JPY, back into the lows down here, previous area support. As you can see, the momentum that came from this area here was a lot of momentum, a big move to the downside. So potentially could be seeing some momentum to the downside, breaking through this kind of 4-hourly uptrend that we have here. And if you do get a break for that level, which currently is keeping us in the uptrend, which is this level here in the market. So as you can see, previous swing low gave us a move to the upside. So if we do see a break of that, again, the momentum is probably going to be to the downside, and we could probably see a longer swing back to the lows here potentially. On the weekly chart, looks like we do have a test of a weekly trend line. If I zoom out a little bit and draw a trend line here in the market, you can see if I connect the highs previously made, it looks like we've had a test of this trend line here in the market. So we've had initially a test here, gave us a really big move to the downside. Second test, another big move. Third test, another big move. So it looks like we're having a fourth test of that trend line potentially with this week. As you can see, we had that bullish momentum, and then this week we had that doji with wicks to either side, more of a longer wick to the upside, testing that trend line. So that could give us momentum for potentially a longer swing back to the downside for CAD JPY, back into this key level here in the market on the weekly, which is the support for the range on the daily. You can see previous resistance there, support all along there. So probably going to be expecting potentially a move into this area for a weekly point of view for CAD JPY. And if we do see that trend line kick in, again, we could be seeing a longer swing to the downside for this pair. Obviously, if the momentum continues to break through that trend line, obviously you can see a longer swing to the downside, but expecting this area to hold previous resistance, going to be expecting a swing to the downside for CAD JPY. Up next is GBP USD. Okay, so the GBP on the daily chart was starting to roll over and become bearish here. You can see we're right back at these previous highs in the market here. Previous resistance gave us a big move to the downside, back at those highs again, and looks like we're finally roll over. Again, a lot of choppiness, a lot of moving sideways in the 4-hourly time frame, and we finally had that move back to the downside. So again, it looks like the trend is looking bearish here for the daily time frame anyway. We do have this uptrend in the market, well, this trend line keeping us in an uptrend in the market here. So if we connect the lows of price, so again, initial test there, second, third, fourth again. So it looks like we're due a fifth test of this trend line for GBP, and then potentially either see another bounce to the upside or potentially see a longer swing to the downside, more of a counter trend move, go and test the previous support that we had in the market here. So again, previous support which gave us this move to the downside, to the upside. So again, it looks like we could potentially go and test that area if we do get a break of that trend line. From a higher time point of view, weekly, you can see we had those highs again retested that we previously were tested multiple times. You can see once there, again there, and I'll extend that across really. You can see we tested there again as well. So we're looking bearish here. Potentially could see a move back into this level here on the weekly chart. You can see a really key level around 1.306, so around that level here. You can see previous resistance across here on the weekly time frame, a lot of bearish candles. Then we saw that big bullish candle break above. We had that breakout into this level. So from a weekly point of view, going to be expecting price to come into this level here and either see another swing back to the upside, because again, like I said, we do have that trend line there keeping us in the uptrend here. So again, we could potentially see another swing back up again and just see price range until we get a breakout of either level. But again, if you do get a break of this level, again, we can see a longer swing to the downside for GBP, probably into this level here from a weekly point of view, a really key level here, acting as resistance and support. So again, if you break through that level there, expecting a move into this level from a weekly time frame. So again, expecting that bearishness to continue on the daily chart into that trend line here, and then we'll probably make another judgment whether we're going to get another bounce or see a longer swing back down. And last, we've got GBP CAD. Okay, so GBP CAD on the daily time frame, we saw a move to the downside recently for this pair. We broke out of this kind of weak corrective daily trend line to the upside here, keeping us in the very weak uptrend, expecting to see the market break to the downside. We actually reached all the way to these highs up here. You can see we wicked into that area, and from there you can see we had that move to the downside. You can see previously we had a lot of momentum to the downside from that same level, so we wicked into that area, and that level gave us the momentum needed to break through that trend line and break through that corrective bullish trend. So you can see we broke through it, retested it again with that bullish candle, long way to the upside, and then we broke to the downside in the past couple of days. So again, looking very bearish on the daily time frame for this pair. If you look across here, we're currently testing a very key level in the market here. So again, previous support there, support again for a fourth time, and for a fifth time we're testing that same level of support currently. So it depends whether the market wants to hold at this level or not. You can see currently we had a wick all the way below it and the market pulled all the way back up. So again, that is a sign that we could be seeing a bounce back to the upside for this pair. You can see for the past year or so on the daily chart, we'll kind of just be moving sideways. So again, quite a very choppy pair. Potentially could see another swing back to the upside quite easy again, since we're just kind of just moving in the range. Potentially go and test some previous areas of support again. So again, we found some support there when we went to go and retest the trend line. So potentially could see a move to the upside for GBP CAD into this area up here. So around 1.7096, around that area, then you see another swing back to the downside. Or if we break through that level there, we can go much higher to the upside for GBP CAD, since we are quite choppy. But if you do get a break of this level and a close below, again, we can see a longer swing to the downside. So if I zoom out to the weekly chart, again, you can see you kind of just have that range keeping us moving sideways. So if you do see a break of this support level here from a weekly point of view, actually more of a weekly rather than daily. So if you see a break on this level from a weekly point of view, again, we could be seeing a longer swing back to the downside, potentially go and test the lows that we had previously all the way down there. But again, very strong level of weekly support, and you see on the daily time frame, well, it's a very strong level of daily support as well. So probably going to be expecting a bounce to the upside, at least to go and test the level that we had up here. So again, around 1.710, so around there. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, found it useful. If you agree or disagree with my analysis, or just have any questions, just put it in the comments and I'll make sure I'll get back to you. But like I said, to the end of the video, I hope you all enjoyed it. And until the next one, I'll see you later.